In Masechet Gittin, Daf Nun Vav Amud Bet, we read 4 simple words. Words that were to become the key to the survival of the Jewish people from the destruction of the Second Temple to our own times. Ten li Yavne v'chachameha. Give me Yavne and her scholars. The year 69 of the Common Era was a time of chaos and confusion throughout the Roman Empire. In Rome itself, the rumblings of civil war were to be heard. While in the eastern province of Judea, the Jews were squabbling amongst themselves, as well as facing the common enemy from the west. It was some time during a pause in the fighting that a certain sage was smuggled out of Jerusalem, disguised as a dead body in a coffin, and taken to the camp of the Roman general Vespasian, where he hailed the general as king and emperor. At first, so the Talmud tells us, Vespasian rejected this presumptuous title. But then came a messenger from Rome to announce that he had indeed been elected the new emperor. Vespasian turned to the Jewish sage and marveled at his foresight. "I must return to Rome," he said, "but before I go, you may make one request of me, and it will be granted." To which the sage, Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, replied, "Give me Yavne and its scholars." And so it was. By the following year, under the leadership of Vespasian's son Titus, the Roman conquest of Judea was completed. And on the 9th of Av, in the year 70, the great temple in Jerusalem burned to the ground. But as Jerusalem fell into ruins, so Yavne began to flourish as the living heart of the Jewish nation, to become the center of halachic study, the new seat of Jewish administration, and the rallying point for scholars, rabbis, and pilgrims from far and wide. The flourishing Talmudic era of Yavne would end in tragedy, but the eternal spirit of the Jewish people was to live on. It was this spirit that was to inspire one of the great sages of modern times, Harav Avraham Yitzchak Kook, to urge the rebuilding of Yavne as a center for Torah and religious study. A center that, like its namesake of old, would serve as a spiritual focus for the Jews of Israel and the world over. This call was taken up by other religious leaders, such as Rabbi Meir Bar Ilan. And eventually, just 35 years ago, near the historical site of ancient Yavne, Yeshivat KBY Yavne was established. Today, KBY Yavne is an expanding complex of over 400 students, with a full complement of teaching, administrative, and ancillary personnel. The original building, once an old structure that played a strategic role in the War of Independence, has been enlarged and now includes the Beit HaMidrash, the library, and the office of the Rosh Yeshiva, Harav Goldvich Shalita. Under his guidance, KBY Yavne strives to bring reality to its special ideology, to educate Rabbanim and Talmudei Chachamim, who will go out to become the communal leaders and educators of Israel and the diaspora. New generations of Jewish men imbued with the love of God and his Torah, steeped in the laws and traditions of our people, yet fully aware of and prepared to meet the challenges and demands of the modern world. Like the sages of Yavne of old, the students of KBY Yavne also fulfill their worldly responsibilities to their country and to their people. As one of the leading yeshivot in Israel, KBY Yavne was the first to institute the Hester system, an arrangement with the Israeli army whereby boys can extend the period of their national service to 5 years, but divide the time between military training and yeshiva study. But even while far from home during their military service, the boys of Kerem Beyavne are never far from our care and concern. And frequent visits from the rabbis and other students help maintain a close and continuing contact with the yeshiva, as well as with the ongoing study of the Torah. In this way, without losing precious years of learning, Hesder boys from Yavne take a full share of the duties assigned to them. Many serve in some of the finest and toughest army units, and, when called upon, face frontline action in the defense of their country. So we honor those who paid the ultimate price. El Kiddush Hashem, Ha'am, Ve'ha'aretz. May their memory be blessed.
They still live in the fortress? Yeah, it's nice.
I need that job, yes. You better tell your father.
Like its ancient namesake, Kerem Beyavne also attracts students from far and wide.
Is it learning them?
Young men who, either before or after their secular education at college or university, come here for a year or two to take part in KBY's special program for overseas students.
How's he taking you?
He knows, I don't know, he knows all the thing about all the kvar.
הבן לא יורש כשהוא בקבר לעם של הקרובים שלו. אבל אם אני סובר ירוש הבא דרבנו נעשה לו, כל ירוש הבא לא כתוב בתורה. נכון? כל ירוש הבא לא כתוב בתורה. וזה רק מדרבנו נעשה לו, כל הירפוסה הזאת יורד.
So it is here in Yavne, where once the languages of study may have been Aramaic, Persian, Greek, or Syrian.
Those last 6 months, anybody who had anything to do with this guy, you're turning into a Russian Mafreya.
But today, you will hear a polyglot of English, French, even Flemish.
Dus 2 groepen van getuigen, zeg je. De vraag is nou, de eerste groep heeft dat bekend. Als je niet gezegd nu.
עלמה, כופר, והמון, ויל ושישה לידים, חייב. רבה איתו תאוותה. כן, אל תשאר.
Why? Because no one else was kosher before him.
As well as the natural Hebrew of modern Israel. These students are rightly regarded as the ambassadors of our people. For their experience at Kerem Beyavne will fill them with a love for Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, so that they will return to their home communities fully equipped to set the finest examples of the true Torah way of life. For the more serious, including those who aspire to the rabbinate, the Koilel of Kerem Beyavne provides the highest standards of concentrated learning in the many disciplines of Jewish scholarship.
כיוון שזה חזר ובא, יעשו בכלל להשעות על זה כפי דעת רבנן.
כן, זה בדרך כלל, אבל כאן הגמרא עומד ולא שנה. מה זה ולא שנה?
These senior students live here on the campus, where their young families enjoy all the facilities of an established rural community. But Kerem Beyavne does not live in a vacuum. Its teachers and counselors are fully aware of the role the yeshiva must play in the modern world, in Israel and among Jewry at large. One example of this larger responsibility is the series of weekly seminars held for headmasters of religious schools, who come here from all over the country to recharge their spiritual and intellectual batteries. While at the other end of the spectrum, our Talmidim help youngsters to a greater understanding of their Jewish heritage. But the ultimate reward of Kerem Beyavni is to see its graduates go out to assume positions of leadership and responsibility in the community at large. As rabbis, doctors, scientists, and in the many other occupations of a modern society. And it is also in another sense that Kerem Beyavni does not live in a vacuum. It is the center of a vast network of friends and well-wishers all over the world. An expanding family of alumni and others. Devoted men and women who appreciate the important role the yeshiva has to play in the Jewish community, and whose support has made Kerem Beyavni what it is today. In the book of Isaiah, it is written, "For the vineyard of the Lord is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah the flowering of his delight." So may the vineyard of Yavne flourish for his greater glory and for the assured future of Kol Beit Israel.